I literally asked my YC partner how I got it. I'm a solo founder. I'm a first-time founder. How did I get it? For the audience who don't know what Combinator is, YC, Y Combinator, is a Silicon Valley incubator program that born some of the most famous startups such as Stripe, Airbnb, Gusto, Instacart, Dropbox, and DoorDash. The acceptance rate is like 1.8%. And then once you get into YC, there is 2 to 4% chance you become a billion-dollar company. What are some of the skill sets that you need in a startup? And what are some of the skill sets that got us into Y Combinator? Last weekend, it was the YC application deadline. And now that we are part of YC for a year and a half, I actually helped a few people to revise their essays, send recommendations, and so on. Because I was helping my friends, it made me think what makes getting into Y Combinator hard. We started the company in 2020. It's Casual Portal, which is our sister company. This channel is Casual Marketplace, which is to help you folks achieve financial freedom. Between 2020 April, which is it's kind of funny, it's the YC deadline and our 3-year anniversary. I applied in April of 2021, somewhere around that time frame. I did not get in the first time I applied. Now, I am a solo founder. At the time, I was working on the startup part-time actually for a year. And I hired about 7 engineers. I still had a W-2 job. My decision calculus is that I'll pour everything I made from my work into the startup, and if the startup fails, I still have my job. I applied to YC while having a job, while being a solo founder, and we did not get it. We had a few customers already. We got paid, but the product was not that great. I remember visiting New York. I think I applied actually more like in June, and I got the rejection letter in July. And I still remember this. I was eating dim sum by myself, late night dim sum on 9th Avenue in New York City. I basically interviewed the day, and then a day later or 2 days later, I flew to New York and I got this rejection letter on my phone. I remember feeling very sad when I was reading the letter. I was still at my W-2 job, and I was like, well, maybe that's it for the startup. I think it's like a day or 2 days later, I got back to it and everything is just normal. I was sad for like a day or even just that evening. Something interesting happened in that time. I applied again in August, and then I got the interview around October. I actually applied late, like the April thing already passed. So when I first applied, I didn't take it that seriously, and I applied like after the finalized deadline. So it's like, if you still want to apply, keep applying. So I applied, and I didn't expect to get in, but I made it to the interview step, and I didn't get it, right? I didn't get it. And I think it's the fact I didn't get in made me want to work harder. I think it's like 3 months later. I remember it's less than 3 months. 3 months later, I apply again. I couldn't care less. I was like, I don't think I'll get into YC, so I'm just gonna work on my startup and just let the startup succeed. I was working on the portal, Casual Portal, but my application was all about the marketplace. But the thing is, I haven't built anything on the marketplace. You see what I'm saying? So I got rejected on the marketplace. The second time I applied, I only talk about the portal and with a little bit of mention of the marketplace. And then I show the numbers for the portal, I show the traction for the portal, and so on and so forth. And then second time I applied, I missed the interview. This is funny because every time when I applied to YC, I was in New York City for some reason. And I missed the interview because my calendar is Pacific time. I put it in the Eastern time. So I missed the interview. The most important interview, I missed it. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can we reschedule for the same day? They're like, sure, let's reschedule for this time. But that time I was flying to Vegas from New York City. So I did the interview in the Centurion lounge of the JFK airport. It was only a 10-15 minute interview. And I was like, okay, sure. That's fine. While I was on the plane, they sent me a text because on the plane, I cannot take phone calls, but I can receive texts. I got a text from the YC partner. After I landed, I immediately called them back. I read online that if you got the phone call, that means you probably get in, and you get rejections through an email. So I was pretty happy when I was on the plane because I thought, okay, this is good news. I literally asked my YC partner how I got it. I'm a solo founder. I'm a first-time founder. How did I get it? He said something that's super interesting, which brings me to the point. He said that you demonstrate that you can build a product. You demonstrate that you can get customers. you demonstrate that you're very technical. You demonstrate that you can raise money. At that time, I quit my job and I actually raised quite a bit of money before we ever got into YC. We raised like $3.8 million before we got into YC. I think they were impressed with those statements. I mentioned that because when they said it like that, I'm like, yeah, sure, cool, that's understandable. Now we are 3 years into the startup, and I have a little bit better idea what it takes to succeed at a startup. And I remember there were many YC partners, and one of them was actually the previous president of YC. And that was the same person that rejected me the first time. And then the second time, he was like smiling to the end. He asked me a relatively tricky question, and then I think I just thought on the spot and answered it. I think the best way I would describe that interview is I did not prepare at all. I don't know what I'm gonna ask. I was at the JFK airport. Whatever they asked me, I've been working on it. It's just like whatever comes to my mind. I think that's what they want to know, is that you think about the problem day in, day out, and that when they ask you, you probably thought about that problem many times. That's what they want to know. So it was organic and natural for me. What YC partners said afterwards stuck with me, which is, what are the skill sets needed or necessary to create a startup? A lot of other people actually mention about this. Startup founders are more important than the ideas. You know, this is a spoiler alert. General partners are more important than the deal that they're buying. And this pattern repeats over and over again. And Y Combinator, they look for passion, character, all that stuff, communication, absolutely. But the investors or Y Combinator are looking for a coverage of essential skill sets that are needed to make a startup succeed. Number one is engineering. You need to know how to build the product. Number two is product. You need to have a good sense of what a great product looks like. Does this solve the customer's problems? That comes with life experience, and that also comes from domain expertise. So that's why some of the greatest startups nowadays are not just so good at engineering. They actually have a specific area that they, by chance, have domain expertise on. And they were in that domain for a long time. So they understand some of those pain points viscerally. Okay, that's important. The third one is design, interaction design. Does the information architecture make sense? Do the buttons make sense? Do the copy make sense? Does the thing look good? Does the workflow make sense? That comes from a lot of industry experience. That also comes from just like having good taste. The fourth one is sales and marketing, which I did not have. This is one of the biggest skill sets I picked up from Y Combinator. The fifth skill set is finance/equity raising. Have an intuitive sense of how money works and how money floats. This is something that I almost cheated. Well, cheated is a bad word, but this is something I have an unfair advantage. The subject of my startup is equity raising. So that's why I had success with equity raising. If I couldn't raise money, I shouldn't be even creating this startup in the first place. On the first try into YC, I didn't get in because I didn't talk about these. I thought this is not important. And then on the second try, I raised money before I got into YC. So I think they were like actually impressed that, oh wow, you just raised this much money. That must mean something. There are certain things needed in a startup. And for the similar reason, there are certain things needed in real estate investing. Over the years, I've been contemplating what makes real estate investing hard. I'll do a separate video on that. In summary, the skill sets I lay out for the startup, being technical, product sense, having good design taste, sales and marketing, finance or ability to raise money, those are the intrinsic skill sets, raw skill sets that should be present in a startup team. Or they should be able to hire people who are good at those things in order for the startup to have a chance to succeed. I also want to make the point that even if you have all those 5 skill sets, you're not guaranteed to succeed because product market fit is this mysterious thing and timing is even more mysterious than that. Even if you have none of the skill sets, you still can succeed because you can develop those skill sets if you have the right motivation and drive and character. I hope you enjoy this. Thanks for listening again, and until next time, happy investing.